Hello and welcome back, everyone. We are back with another Beyond the Title. Today we are talking to Dave Closson from DJC Solutions. Dave and I have known each other for 6 years, 7 years now,
Probably
probably.
2019.
Yeah, it's been a
Yeah.
while, and have done a lot of work together. And this segment is really just around leaders that inspire me. And I want to hear a little bit about you and what your journey has looked like, and how did you get to where you are today. So first of all, welcome and thank you for being here.
So glad to be here. And you might be able to see my cheeks might be turning a little red. Thank you for the kind words and the positive affirmation.
Yeah, yeah. So I start out every interview with a question, which is, what lights your fire? What gets you out of bed in the morning?
Oh, yes. Responsibilities get me out of bed. No.
Right? Dog licks.
Right. Oh my gosh. Like, oh, I gotta get stuff done before my daughter wakes up. No.
Yep.
What kind of just drives me in general, really is just my why, in that I want to live a life of continued growth and improvement. I want to continue to grow and be a better and better version of myself, for my wife, and for my daughter, and for the world. I want to make a difference, and I know that that starts with things that I can control, and I can control me always pursuing being better and trying to be the best me that I can be.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that is one of the things that I think we connected with right away. It was just kind of that ignite, right? That
Hmm.
connection, that belief that we are better together, and
Hmm.
everyone
Hmm.
brings value and has something to share. And you and I have gone through a lot of why work over the years, and really kind of digging into understanding that why and that purpose. And I know that when I went out on my own, that was the first thing that I turned to before I
Hmm.
did my mission or my vision or my strategic plan. It was revisiting that why and really digging into understanding my own values and what was
Hmm.
going to drive the decisions that I make. So when you
Hmm.
think about that and thinking about where has that why shown up for you, maybe in your life before you even knew
Hmm.
what that why was?
Yes. So we've got a lot of time here. What, this is a 3-hour spot.
Right, exactly. This is a marathon.
Right. So I'll do the very cliff notes, spark notes, AI summary, whatever your generation
Mhm.
lingo is, folks watching. Um, Looking back, my parents always said that I'd be, they could see me being a great teacher. And
Mm.
I'm like, wait, what? I don't want to be a teacher. But even in high school, like high school wrestling as a team captain, and I was great at teaching the other younger wrestlers. When I
Mm.
joined the army, I was picked to be a trainer, an instructor. And so I was naturally pulled to sort of the teaching and training roles, but I didn't necessarily plan it or connect the dots at the time. Fast forward to grad school, getting my master's degree in training and development. I wanted to focus on that because at that point in life, I'd seen, people are what make things go.
Mhm.
If you want to accomplish anything, it's gonna take people. And so how can you better teach people? How can you create environments for people to work better and really empower them? Talked coaching, mentoring, um, work, productive work groups, work teams, facilitation, motivational interviewing, all of these things that are all very people centric, because that's where the real power and change comes from. Um, and I started to connect the dots. And at the same time as I was in grad school, I was still struggling with my post traumatic stress disorder, TBI, and addiction. And in that time of my healing journey, I, I also I also found the hope that came from seeing that somebody else has gone through the suck
Mm,
and came out the other side, for one way to say it, stronger, lived a fulfilling life. So like my dad, for example, was one Vietnam veteran and has lived a very successful life. And so there was that beacon of like hope.
mhm,
And so that all kind of culminates into my why being to live and share a life of continued growth, um, so that we can overcome adversity and live a fulfilling life. Because when I was faced with a lot of adversity, that's one of the things that helped me. And so now tapping into my strengths of being a teacher, a trainer, natural, very people focused person, I can do that myself as well. I can continue to live and learn and grow because that's what's going to help me heal. But then I can also share to be that beacon of hope for others as they face adversity or maybe even before they face adversity. And I rambled for so long, I don't even remember. Did I answer your question
You,
or did I
you
just
did.
talk for a
You
long time?
know, welcome to my podcast. It is nothing but rambling until you're like out of breath and you're like, oh, I should check in. Where am I at?
Right.
Um, yeah. So one of the things I love that you said was that kind of that continuous growth and being on your healing journey, because I don't know that it's ever really done, right? Like there's always something that, we're working on, that we're growing towards, that we're healing from.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
really appreciate that you acknowledge that and that I see that show up in the work that you do. So as you kind of think about that, where maybe have you had times in your life where you didn't feel like there wasn't that purpose or that growth, and you just kind of stuck in that wheel of not really knowing where to go?
Mm. Um, Up until 2015. How about that? Um, I never felt like I had a calling.
Mm,
I would see friends like, oh, I want to be a doctor. I was meant to be a cop and that's just what I want to do. It's my calling. But I never felt that. And I never really knew my purpose, my mission, my vision, like what I was supposed to do with my life. Um, and I struggled with that.
mhm,
And so I found myself in what I call JOBs, just jobs. And I was good at them, but they didn't fulfill me. Something was missing and I felt like I needed to have this big light bulb epiphany of, oh, that's the title, the job, the position that I need to feel fulfilled, to feel fulfilled. But then I finally grew to this point in my own healing to where it was less about my job title. Hey, wait, good fit for
beyond the
the
title.
podcast, but it was more about my own personal identity and what kind of man do I want to be? Who do I want to be? And then my job, so to speak, my 9 to 5 or 8 to whatever you want to
Mhm,
call it, is really meant to help create the conditions, the opportunity for me to live and be that person instead of trying to find a job that will define my identity and who I am and my
mhm.
purpose.
Yeah, that I love that. And I think as you were talking earlier about, your parents seeing that
Mm-hmm.
teacher in you, that
Mm-hmm.
trainer in you, that the being in wrestling and being that person
Mm-hmm.
who's helping guide and right, that was the job and people could see it in you, but
Mm-hmm.
you were like, yeah, well, that I don't feel it. And that the piece that was missing, like just you said, was who you are as a person showing
Mm-hmm.
up in that space. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think we've been conditioned, at least I know that my parents, and their parents, like you did a job because you were required to have a job.
You
Not
get a
that you were,
job, you got a pension, you got to have
yeah,
benefits, and that's
yeah.
just what you do.
That's what you do.
Ah,
That's you don't have to like it. You just
right.
have to go.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so we've
Mm-hmm.
watched our parents struggle in that. And I think our generation has kind of shifted that into finding that kind of that work-life balance and that purpose. And I think what's
Mm-hmm.
inspiring as I'm looking at the younger generations coming in, that they are 100% driven by purpose and wanting to
Mm-hmm.
understand themselves. And I think we are to, I don't know, blame or credit for that, whichever way you want to look at it. Because I remember telling my kids, like, just as you said, find something that you love, you find your
Mm-hmm.
purpose, and then you find a way to make money at it.
Yes. Yes. Like So for me, when that it wasn't even a light bulb, it was a slow emerging, like a
Mhm.
sunrise of realization. Um, but I ended up quitting a job where I made $60,000 a year, full benefits. I was good at it, but I didn't enjoy it and it didn't leave me feeling fulfilled. And I took a job that's had a salary of $32,500. So like a 50% pay cut. And that was before taxes,
Yeah.
by the way, and before they took out benefits and retirement. So my take home was, but that job put me on the right path towards being who I want to be and living the life I want to live. So guess what? Even with that pay cut, I was happier because I
Mhm.
was on the right path, being who I wanted to be and going towards what I actually wanted to accomplish. And fast forward now, guess what? It's worked.
Yeah. And so as you think about the jobs that you've had and you've been
Hmm.
on this journey and like you said, it's just kind of a slow rise into
Hmm.
if all the pieces kind of coming together. At what point were you like, I need to take this leap and leave the job, even though I might be
Hmm.
good at it, even though I can see my purpose in it, but I'm
Hmm.
going to create now something on my own and I'm going to
Yes.
jump into that.
Hmm. So it's kind of a weird overlap in that I started my business in 2015, but it was always a side hustle because I didn't understand the difference between having a side hustle and building an actual like business.
Hmm.
And so it was there, but it wasn't something I could quit my day job and do full time. So once I started to learn the difference of, oh, I need to build a business, not just have things I can sell and do to make money. I I mapped out a plan. I set 1, 3, and 5 year goals, and I got to work. I implemented all while having a day job. Then I reached this point in 9 months of implementing. I hit that 3 year financial goal. And I had mapped that financial goal out with the end of my grant funding where I was being paid. So, like, okay, work for 3 years, grow the business. If we don't get refunded, it's okay because I built a
Hmm.
safety net and I can make the jump. But I got there 9 months. And so I had to have a gut check with my wife and I. And we're like, well, the whole reason I'm building this business is so I can live a certain life that I want to live and be free to be who I really, truly want to be. Could I have done both for 3 years and made a lot more money, having an income, like a salary with full benefits and also my business income? Yes, it would have sucked. It would not
Hmm.
have been the lifestyle I want to live. And so it was just that point. It was like, well, I can start living that life now, or I can have a crappy, be overworked for the next 3 years and then start living it. Why wait? So that's what I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah. I feel that. And I think, it's a scary leap.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a lot of faith and trust in yourself,
Hmm.
in God and the people that you surround
Hmm.
yourself with that everything is gonna fall into place. And so, and even though you've made that leap and you've been very
Hmm.
successful, not every day is great.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
what is it that you do that keeps, you have, and one of the things I just really, really admire about you is that you are that drive. Like you set the goals, you take the time to be detailed on understanding what
Hmm.
you want, and you go through the steps to get there, right?
Hmm.
And that you know what you want and you have a lot of things. You got a lot of things that you are
Hmm.
just amazing at. But I have to imagine that you're human and there's days that you just have a hard time. And on those
Hmm.
days, what is it that helps you move through and keep going?
Ooh, so many layers and ways to approach this question. One being something that you had said in that we need to think about self-care as prevention, not as
Mm-hmm.
treatment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do that. I'm very routine focused, very healthy habits focused. And so that helps weather those storms. I've been working with the nervous system coach, resilience coach, who you should have on here if you haven't yet. Shout out
Yes.
Jen. Um, and through that too, I'm now better at listening to my body and my mind, my soul, and actually listening and doing what it needs. So there's now days where my work day's over at 3 p.m. Like there's always going to be work that could be done, but knowing when, okay, my body needs a break, my mind needs a break, that work will get done, but it'll get done later. And being okay with that. And so yeah, there's days I'll just punch out and I'll go spend time with my wife and daughter. I'll go hang out with a dog in the backyard, or maybe there's a project that's been looming around the house that just feels like it's like hanging over my head. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go tackle that. So that's like off that to-do list. Um, yeah, so there's a very scattered, rambling answer.
I love that. And I think that has been the hardest thing for me is not feeling guilty. Like you said, there's
Hmm.
always work to do,
Yeah.
especially as a business owner. As like I
Hmm.
could always be sitting at my computer doing
Yep.
something,
Hmm.
marketing, QuickBooks,
Hmm.
developing something, reaching out. There's always something to do. And so giving yourself that permission to say, I'm working, like you said, I'm doing this because there's a certain lifestyle that I want. But if
Hmm.
you start your own business and you adopt the lifestyle or the work that you had making,
Hmm.
at your other job, then what's the point? And I
Yep.
think the long also is gone the idea of, well, you'll sleep when you're dead, right? Like we have to just work, 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 work.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear that you say that some days it's 3 o'clock. And for
Yeah.
me too, like I think sometimes sometimes it's earlier, sometimes
Yep.
it's later,
Hmm.
and sometimes at night when everybody else is falling asleep and I have a really great idea, then I go to
Hmm.
my office and I work a little bit. But
Hmm. There are some
yeah,
days I start my workday at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. because I wake up, and because I'm excited about the work I do. All right, I'll do my morning routine and then all right, let's do some work.
I
Yeah.
can't say that that has happened for me.
You
You
stay
know
up
my
late,
ro-
I get up early. It's all good.
you know you know my routine. But there was a couple weeks ago, I think it was last week, that there was just something like I've been doing a lot of manifesting. I've been doing a lot of journaling. I've been doing a
Hmm.
lot of, journaling about what I'm grateful for and what I picture my life to be and really
Hmm.
living the life as
Yep.
I see it.
Yep.
And I just was so excited and I fell asleep pretty early. And then like at midnight, 1 o'clock, I was wide awake and I just had all of these thoughts going on. And
Hmm.
normally I would be like, just, you know, toss and turn.
Hmm.
You'll do it later. You'll do it later. And I was like, why? What? I'm excited right now.
Just do
Let's
it.
do it. Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
I can
Right.
sleep in tomorrow. There's
Hmm.
nothing going to hold me up. So, getting
Yeah.
up and just getting that computer out and getting those ideas out and doing some work. And
Hmm.
when it got out of my brain, I could shut down and I got a good night's sleep
Yeah.
and woke up
Hmm.
in the morning and looked at it and was like, this is amazing work.
Right, right. And one thing that's coming to mind too, not necessarily related to that, but it popped in my mind a little bit ago, was the law of 2 feet. We talk about
Mm,
that in the facilitation room,
yes.
but that was one thing that I really learned and saw so many people feeling trapped at their job. They
Mhm.
felt stuck and like they couldn't leave. And you're never like, you can leave. It's
Yeah.
okay to quit a job and go get a new one. Like, be smart, be strategic, be intentional about it, but you're never trapped. Like, I want folks to know that, like, you can leave your job. I mean, that it just got so disheartening when I'd see somebody say, "Well, I've been here for 10 years. Only got 10 more years to go." And that's 10 years of living a miserable, unhappy life. And there's more to it than just a pension.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that just, I forget where I was going to go with that, but
But I think, as we were talking about prevention or self-care being
Mhm.
prevention, and my husband and I have had this conversation too, where it's like we watch people, a lot of people that he has worked with for a lot of years, they put in their years. She said,
Mhm.
I got 5 more years left. I'm just going to hang out. I'll just get it done. And then, 2 weeks after they retire, they die.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
Right?
start living the life you want to live
Yeah.
now, today. It's live your life, like live it.
Love it. And I think with that too, it's just like find your purpose now,
Yep.
right? Like don't wait till
Mm-hmm.
you're retired to say, well, now I'm going to find out who I really am and my purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do with
And
it now.
like with that too, I would treat a purpose like a North Star,
Mm,
not a specific route, in
hmm.
that like have a wide berth, have a direction, but know that there can be some meandering, some wandering within that as long as you're still headed that general direction.
Yeah.
Because you got to
Yeah.
have room for life to happen.
You do. You do. It's that balance of feeding your soul and living your
Hmm.
life and
Hmm.
yet still paying the bills.
Yep. Yep. And a couple things that came up too that were big learnings for me that I feel like helped once I made the jump, but even help even before I made the jump, was the execution factor.
Mm,
It's one thing to come up with ideas and great plans and stuff, but when it comes down to the, all right, we gotta roll up our sleeves and gotta do the work, whether that's healing, whether that's entrepreneurship, whether that's at a day job for an employer,
yeah.
especially in the startup world, though I see a lot of that. It's great to come up with these cool, innovative ideas, but what's going to make you succeed is the execution factor. You got to be
Yeah.
able to execute and actually do the work.
And you have to be persistent because
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
one one task, one thing that you implement is not
Mm-hmm.
going to be the change everything, right? It's a series of those things and being
Mm-hmm.
consistent and continuing to show up
Mm-hmm.
even though I'm not seeing results today.
Yep.
But
Yep.
you've
It's a
mapped
long
it out and
game.
you know where
Mm-hmm.
we're going. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I also know that you and I love to share books.
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What are some, as you kind of think about what we've talked about here, what are maybe some books or recommendations that you can give our listeners to, people who maybe want to dig into kind of the journey that you've been on?
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is a fun one. So I'll just do a highlight reel of the different books that have helped me along my journey and where I was at in the journey. And it really truly starts with my guy, Dave Ramsey. Some
Mm,
people love him, some people
hmm.
hate him. Ain't nothing political about it. But my parents gave me his book, The Total Money Makeover, and said, hey, we never taught you about personal finances. So read this book. This is us teaching you. I'm in college. I'm like a senior in college. Okay. Read the book, understood it, made sense, got to work, and I was able to graduate debt free.
Mm,
And I share that not as a brag, but because the freedom that that gave me, I had the cash in the bank to be able to go live in Colorado. I had the cash available to be able to move to Florida. I was free. I wasn't trapped and stuck. I had the safety net, the security, like all of the emotional things that came from that and the opportunities I was able to step into because of that. And I feel a coughing
mhm.
fit coming up.
As you're doing that, I'm just gonna say my dad, plug here, my dad is a Dave Ramsey coach, and he became a Dave Ramsey coach in his retirement. So I didn't get what you just talked about. It
Yeah,
would have been
yeah.
nice back then, but I think that financial literacy, being able to understand, you know, debt and what that really means. And I think is our country is constantly changing. We have to be responsible for our own, not only our own life, but our own wealth, and take charge of how we live our life and how, when it gets time to retire or do the fun things that you want, that you're able to do those. So love it.
Yes. And when it comes to like starting your own business, quitting your day job,
Hmm.
you better have your finances in order.
Hmm.
You you better, because that's going to minimize that risk, that scariness. If you've got an emergency fund, if you're got your finances in control, going to make that jump a little bit easier, a little bit less scary as well.
Yeah.
But if you're
Yeah.
already piled under debt, like, oh, I'm going to quit my day job, changes the whole conversation.
100%. 100%. 100%. Love that. What
So
else?
I can continue down the book line as I battle this coughing fit, put in a cough drop. But that's what kicked it off.
Mhm.
Then I read Dan Miller's No More Mondays,
Mm,
which helped me understand and get out of that. You've got to get a job from an employer that helps shift that mindset. Stephen Covey, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, John Acuff, Quitter. It's okay to quit your job.
mhm,
Those are all very early on. That's also what helped me understand that there's this whole consulting, speaking, entrepreneur world, personal wise, healing. Early on, reading a lot of Brene Brown, Simon
mhm,
Sinek, Jocko Willink. Those books helped me a lot to heal and grow personally, which then put me in a better position to be able to navigate the world of entrepreneurship. The biggest business books, The E Myth Revisited, that's what helped me shift from understanding what a side hustle is versus building an actual business. And that I followed their plan, their business development plan, step by step, mapped it out. It was a 13-page Google Doc I wrote. But when that was the plan I implemented and I hit my 3-year goal in 9 months, that book like changed things. Um, so that's a good business book. Traction is a good business book as well. Um, then I would also encourage folks business wise to read Profit First. That's
mm,
another good one. And one I enjoy too is A Pumpkin Plan. That's a fun one for entrepreneurship. I have the most recent Dave Ramsey book, the business book that just came out in April about building a business legacy.
mm.
Um, so it's that the most recent business book he's put out. And with your dad being a Dave Ramsey coach, here's a fun little business story too, is that I stole Dave Ramsey's business model
Well,
in that everyone's like, oh, you need to focus, just build one thing. And I was like, well, I want to do facilitation. I want to do training. I want to do speaking. I want to have a podcast. I have my book. I want to do more books. Like I want to do all these quote separate things. And the normal mainstream startup world is like, dude, that's too much. Pick
yeah,
one,
yeah.
just focus on that. It's like, I want to do all these things. They feel like separate, scattered things. But when I look at my why and I'm able to find the common theme on how they all are in alignment with that why and the lifestyle I want to live, I found a model of somebody else who's doing it. And it's Dave
Mhm,
Ramsey. It
mhm.
started with his book, doing training, started with my book in 2015, doing training. Then he's got his podcast, radio show that's grown into a podcast network, which I'm launching a podcast network this summer. What up?
Woohoo!
Um, he's got his Ramsey speakers. So folks that go out and do training, I'm building a speakers community launching this summer. What up?
Yay.
Um, then he's got his coaching. He's got his curriculum. He's got his online software and e-learning as well. All the different kind of like main buckets or lines of business. I essentially have a different version of those as well. But don't worry, Dave, we're not
We're
competition,
not.
different audiences.
I love to hear that too because I wrestle with that myself and
Mhm.
I've been I've had jobs or had, I did direct sales for a while, made a lot of money. And then when that one stream of income is gone and it
Mhm.
crushes everything in your life. And I was always like, I'm just never going to put all of my eggs in one basket again.
Yep, yep.
And as I'm building things, you and I have very, very similar visions, kind of in different industries, but
Mhm.
very similar in the kind of work that we are doing. Um, and there's some people out there, right, that are like, no, yeah, you can't be good at everything. So pick one thing and do it really, really
Mhm.
well. And I was like, but
Mhm.
that's just not me. And just like you
Yeah.
said, like we're in the business of building relationships. I
Mhm.
mean, fundamentally, that is what it is. I want when somebody walks into my training room, I want them to feel like we've already met.
Mhm.
Like they've seen a YouTube video or they've seen a social media post or they've seen something or we've had a one-on-one chat or we've done a Lumina debrief, right? There's something that they already feel connected and already
Hmm.
feel like I can step into this space and I know that it's a space that I'm going to feel supported in. And I feel
Hmm.
like we build those relationships in so many different ways. So I love that. Like I love to be able to see Dave Closson show up in so many really cool places.
And you just basically described my actual marketing strategy. I don't have a marketing strategy of a like a process of add to cart, check out now, boom, hey, that pay-per-click ad worked, here's the ROI and all that. My marketing strategy in its essence, at its core, is just to allow people to build a relationship with me, to get to know Dave, to get to know DJC Solutions and build some trust. That's it. Like
Yeah.
that's the heart of it. And yeah, but it's harder, kind of like just like in prevention work, harder to draw that
Yeah.
quick ROI. Oh, we did this, so then this. But it's all right because I'm in it for the long haul, and I
Right.
want those relationships.
Yeah, it's more than a transaction. It's more
Yep.
than just seeing somebody one time at a conference
Hmm.
or being in one of your courses. You know, it's a
Hmm.
long-term journey of support, of wraparound support for people, for
Hmm.
individuals, organizations. And I love that. We might be the same person. I don't
I
know.
know, right? Right. Well, even like you're saying, like business model wise, there's going to be ebb and flows, the different lines of our businesses. Like I want to have diversification. If there's funding cuts and folks
Mm-hmm.
don't have as much funding for in-person training, that's okay. I'll just
Mm-hmm.
focus more over here on my virtual services, my e-learning, my podcast solutions. Like that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a business, it positions you better to weather different economic storms.
Yeah. Yeah. We could do a whole series on that.
Right? Right. We can. I'm game. Let's
I
map that shit out.
exactly. I love that. I love being able to help others. I think there's so many barriers that people have, and you
Hmm.
hear, I can't do that, right? Like someone that says I can't do that. I don't know. And
Hmm.
sometimes it's hard to explain, like you said, like because it isn't a linear business model. It
Hmm.
is it is relationships. It is trust. It is, being
Hmm.
able to say this is familiar to me
Hmm.
and I just know when I see Dave, I know it's going to be familiar. I know his voice. I know what to expect
Hmm.
every time I see you show up.
When I've,
So,
oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. I was just saying, when I've done sort of like feedback from clients, what it boils down to is what really stood out to me when I boiled it down was that they do business with me because they trust me
Mhm.
and they know that I genuinely care about their success and well-being. And I do great work, of course, too, but like those two things, like to me, that's the most important is they know they can trust me and they know like I really do care.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. So to that, like give us an example or a story or a project that you walked away with and you were just as inspired by them as they
Oh.
were of you.
Okay. First one that came to mind was the had a year-long project with the Tennessee Alliance for Drug Endangered Children, which
Mhm.
not sure when you're publishing this, but today, April 23rd, Wednesday, is National Deck Awareness Day too.
Yay.
They're
Shout out to
currently
Deck.
right. They're currently at the RX Summit debuting the Tennessee Drug Endangered Children and Handle with Care guide. Today is the official launch at the RX Summit with like 4,000 people, and I made the guide. Um,
Yay.
it was really cool. Did focus groups with their deck alliances across the state and figured out, really answering the question on how to integrate the deck approach, drug endangered children approach, into an existing substance misuse prevention coalition
Mm,
to increase its capacity and rapid expansion and better serve and meet the needs of their communities. And so that's what we did. It's like a 70 some page PDF document, a guide with worksheets, a practical guide that folks can actually take it, read it, and actually start doing the work right then and there. And just seeing the work that they are doing, the culture that those alliances have built in their communities and the positive changes that they've made, then also how those coalitions come together and support each other. It's just
mhm.
so inspiring. It's like that's why we do this work is because of them and what they are doing and the lives that they are changing.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I think that is in the work as we talk about living your why, as we talk about, finding that purpose and working more
Hmm.
than just a job, it is reciprocal, right? Like
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
you just get inspired every time. I know every time I walk in a room, there's someone or something that is said that just gives me the chills. And it's just like, that's
Hmm.
why it's one of the reasons why you keep coming back,
Hmm.
right? There's just this ability to share in joy, and to share in purpose. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, thank you for all that work that you do. And
Yeah.
one last question for you.
Oh, all right, all right.
Yeah. So what is a parting word or inspiration that you have for our listeners?
Ooh. Okay, I'm going to take a shortcut or the easy way out here,
Love that.
but a little preface or context behind it before I actually deliver it. In that, I used to have my why statement as my computer wallpaper.
Mm,
That is real estate that you stare at almost every single day, and you can use that for positive messaging and affirmations and reminders. And so I put my why statement there. But I just shifted and changed it last month, um, to, well, what it says. It says, judge me less, love me more. And
mm,
so to the listeners, I would encourage you to do the same. Don't judge yourself so much, just love yourself.
mm, mm. I love that. I think what a world we would be in if we could love ourselves more,
Yes.
judge
Hmm.
ourselves less.
It ain't
So
easy, but it's
amazing.
important.
It is so important. So important. Thank you so much, Dave, for being here, for sharing your insights. Like I
Mhm.
said, you have always been a great inspiration to me, and you will be on again. You will for sure be on, so we can talk more and learn more about the work that you do. So thank you.
Always happy to. Together's better. See
That's
you, everybody.
right. Yep.